Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Well, if you look in your programs, my name is Everett, and I am Chris's youngest sibling. She always used to introduce me as her youngest brother, but since we're now older, I'm now introduced as the little brother. So, on behalf of Chris and Hubie, and all the family and friends that are here today, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm going to attempt to read Chris's beautiful words, expressing her love and her passion for Hubie. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of a hard time doing that right now, so I hope I can do it as well as she can. And actually, it was a lot easier doing it outside with my sunglasses on walking around the cemetery. Well, Hubie was one of those multifaceted individuals whose life was like an origami puzzle. You would open up one flap of paper and discover something new. Open up another flap and you would find something else. Some of you knew Hubie BC, that's before Chris, and some of you knew him in other phases of his life. However, whenever you came to know him, Hubie was always the same. Outgoing, caring, thoughtful, funny, a perfectionist with his own musicianship, but always willing to share anything and everything that he knew. He was always the most severe critic of himself, thinking that he never quite got that banjo lick just right, that radio interview just perfect, or perhaps that performance just that most more enjoyable and just right. But of course we all knew better. He was always spot on, especially when it came to dealing with people. He had that joie de vivre. Closer. I speak Spanish and German, so French is a little different. When I first met Hubie, he was assigned to Wisconsin as the Air Force Liaison Officer for Civil Air Patrol, where I was a CAP cadet. He took my friend Ellen and I on an orientation flight in a small four-seater Cessna. He entertained us with stories about his attaché assignment in Indonesia and said to himself, what would the guys think of me now if they saw me flying around in my plane with these two young women? And I thought to myself, what a hot dog. Well, what did I know? I was 19. We both had different lives back then. When we finally got together, I was through with college and his life had taken a new path. I found out that he wasn't a hot dog, but an intelligent, generous, sensitive, humble, and loving man who had an insatiable curiosity and interest in people and the natural world around him. He often said that he wished he would have been a biology rather than a business major in college. To say that he was an intellectual is too stilted of a term. His curiosity led him to delve deeply into many areas of interest because he truly wanted to understand them. He was able to wonderfully translate his passions into conversations and his stories, and I know many of us here will remember Hubie for his stories. His view on life was one of an optimistic realist, always seeking what was true but also believing that it could be better. I think that is why he enjoyed his time with consumer affairs. He got to use his anthropology background in dealing with and observing some of the characters that he encountered. And he also knew that he was helping people who couldn't always help themselves. His optimism was also reflected in his choice of instruments, which of course was obviously the banjo. After all, how can you be a glum banjo player? They don't exist. There isn't a time to recount here all the wonderful memories of our life together, except to say that Hubie was my life, my love, my anchor, my heart, and my soul. I am so fortunate to have been able to be part of his life and the lives of his children, Amy, Warren, Wallace, Brian, their families, and that we've been able to be part of all of your lives. Thank you for all of your friendship, kindness, and support over the years. I will miss him so deeply that I am not sure that the void in my heart will ever heal. But in closing, I would like to share the wishes of our best man, Brilton Lohmiller, and the wishes that he had for us on our wedding day, because it best sums up what Hubie meant to me. Dear Hubie and Chris, to wish you happiness is not nearly enough. More important is that feeling of comfort, well-being, and vitality that comes from loving and being loved. I needn't tell you that it's as necessary as food and water, yet so few people have found it in the full measure that you two have. So keep it, enjoy it, Make it the essence of your lives. For love is more than a need in life. It is life itself. Goodbye, my love. Chris. Let's say it was a little easier with sunglasses on outside. But while walking around outside, it was interesting. 2 hawks were flying around. And for those of you who have ever maybe flown hawks like I have, you know how intelligent of a bird that they are. And you also know, just in regards to, they're one of nature's most perfect aerodynamic creatures. And I thought that was appropriate today. And I also think it's appropriate that, because of Hubie's life and what he has done, that was a nice symbol for what's going to happen next. So I'd like to invite Doug Waller, Hubie's nephew, to come up and read High Flight.
High flight. Oh, I've slipped the surly bounds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamt of. Wheeled and soared and swung, high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung. My eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put up my hand, touch the face of the cup.
It's never easy to sum up someone's life in words. But part of the, if you want to call it fun, is the celebration of life. And we celebrate Hubie's life today. So with us, we have some people that are actually going to share some of their fun memories, at least I hope they're fun memories, of Hubie and Chris. First off, I'd like to invite Diane Jones to come and say a few words.
No banjo. I am so sorry I have no banjo, but not possible today. Yesterday was the day with the surgeon's knife, and today is not the day to play the banjo. And I'm really sorry because I think, although Hubie and I had our moments, we had good moments and not so good moments sometimes, about which chord you should play and how you should play it and how you should play that little lick, and we kind of went back and forth and looked at each other a lot, you know. We spent a lot of years playing banjo together. We both came into the old-time banjo world at about the same time and found ourselves taking the same workshops at just about the same time. We spent a lot of time together, and as banjo players always do, especially when they're trying to learn something from another banjo player that they admire, in a jam, you sit across from them and you watch. And you watch their hands, and you watch particularly their left hand, and you figure out what it's doing. The right hand's a little hard to tell sometimes. Do you have any idea how many times we've seen a picture of Hubie here today playing with his left hand showing, and I can't do it, but did you notice? One finger up in the air. Chris can tell you exactly what happened to that finger. It got involved in a moving part of an engine or something. and it didn't bend. So for years, I watched Hubie King's hands and tried to figure out what he was doing. Because he made chords like nobody else that I ever knew. First of all, he had this tremendous bluegrass banjo background. So he had a right hand that was like already superb, wonderful. I couldn't figure out what he was doing. About after 2 or 3 years, you know, I started noticing that he never played with his index finger. And that's something that we always do as banjo players. And finally it was explained to me, and it was like, oh my God, I get it. Okay, after all this time. I spoke to Hubie 2 weeks before he died. And he was perfectly lucid, I want you all to know. He was cheerful, we laughed, we joked. We had the same feelings about death, and the same feelings kind of about what he called a funeral, and he did call this a funeral. And he said, Diane, I have a really personal question to ask you. I said, well, what is it? He says, I want you to sing at my funeral. Will you do that? I said, I was taken a little aback, but I said, Hubie, I would be honored to sing at your funeral. I said, but, what do you want me to sing? And he kind of hesitated a little bit, and then he said, well, I really want you to sing Wild Hog in the Woods. Well, I thought that was a little peculiar, but I've known Hubie for a long time, and I thought, I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, I really like the way, that song, and I like the way you sing it. So I said, okay, if that's what you really want, I will sing Wild Hog in the Woods for you. But unfortunately, I can't play the banjo today, and I don't even see anybody with a guitar out that could give me an A, so I'm going to have to fake it. By introduction, Wild Hog in the Woods is an old Scottish ballad. It's probably one of the older ballads that many of us know and enjoy. Comes from lots of different sources. My source is pretty much a Hammonds family from Pocahontas County, West Virginia source, and I'm going to try to get through it. There was a wild hog in yonder's woods, doodle-lum day, doodle-lum day. There was a wild hog in yonder's woods, doodle-lum downy day. There was a wild hog in yonder's woods, catch 'em boys, don't let 'em get away. Cut 'em down, catch 'em if you can. Bang 'em did a huntin' ride, doodle-lum day, doodle-lum day. Bang 'em did a huntin' ride, doodle-lum downy day. Bang 'em did a huntin' ride, with a sword and a pistol by his side. Cut him down, catch him if you can. Bang 'em rode to the wild hog's den, doodle-lum day, doodle-lum day. Bang 'em rode to the wild hog's den, doodle-lum downy day. Bang 'em rode to the wild hog's den, where he spied the bones of 1,000 men. Cut him down, catch him if you can. Bang 'em blew his hunting horn, doodle-lum day, doodle-lum day. Bang 'em blew his hunting horn, doodle-lum downy day. Bang 'em drew his hunting horn, and the wild hog crashed through the oak and thorn. Cut him down, catch him if you can. Bang 'em drew his hunting knife, doodle-lum day, doodle-lum day. Bang 'em drew his hunting knife, doodle-lum downy day. Bang 'em drew his hunting knife, he swore he'd take that wild hog's life. Cut him down, catch him if you can. They fought 9 hours on that day, doodle-lum day, doodle-lum
hours on that day, doodle-long downy day. They fought 9 hours on that day, till the wild hog bled and slunk away. Cut him down, catch him if you can. Bang 'em, did you win or lose? Doodle-long day, doodle-long day. Bang 'em, did you win or lose? Doodle-long downy day. Bang 'em, did you win or lose? He swore by God he won his shoes. Cut him down, catch him if you can. There was a wild hog in yonder's woods, doodle-long day, doodle-long day. There was a wild hog in yonder's woods, doodle-long downy day. There was a wild hog in yonder's woods. Catch 'em, boys, don't let 'em get away. Cut him down, catch him if you can. I love you, Hubie.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Diane. Richard has some, Livingston has some things to say.
I can stand here. I met Hubie in the Air Hill Stamp Club. Hubie was very active in that, and we shared the interest in collecting the stamps of Indonesia and Japan. But what I found when I talked to Hubie is that we had quite a few interests in common. And one of the first ones was the experience in Indonesia. And I had a chance to hear several of his stories about Indonesia. I had been there too. And you may have seen that visit of wining and dining in Indonesia. I'm probably the only other person in this room who's been out to see the Dani people traveling on a 2-inch and a 2-person plane, a Cessna, a small Cessna, out to visit the Dani people. But we also found an interest in bluegrass music. I grew up in eastern Tennessee, and also Wisconsin. My wife is from Wisconsin. A little over a month ago, Chris and Hubie and I had a chance to have lunch together, and Hubie was still able to tell wonderful stories, particularly about his experience in Indonesia. And so, like Diane, I just want to say, we'll miss you.
Someone else who would like to share a memory today, Kenneth Wallner, one of Hubie's other nephews.
Thank you for letting me say a few words. I was hoping to piggyback on my brother's remarks, but I just wanted to say I had a wonderful life with my Uncle Graham, and that I got so much from him. He took me out to some, on one occasion in particular, a country music festival, listened to the bluegrass with him, and had dinner with him coming home. It meant so much to me. It was nice to get to spend that kind of time with him. I loved hearing his flying stories. My interest in flying, which I will eventually learn to do, maybe when I retire. So much of that I got from him. He was a wonderful uncle to me. And I can't help reflecting when he knew he was declining and he invited all of his nephews to visit with him. And he had a different story and different things to say to each of us. He saw us each as individuals. But I can't help reflecting on the two themes that he had, how he remembered his sister's love for him and how he saw that reflected in my brothers and my sister. And the second thing was his philosophy of teaching and how he would rather inspire someone to learn rather than beat the learning into him, as it were. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I think the most important part was the love that he talked about, that he had for my mother and for all of us nephews and nieces. And I just want to say, grand back at you. You loved us all, and you loved us together, you loved us individually, and you showed us what you knew. And I'm so grateful for that time. And I just wanted to say that one more time before I said goodbye. Thank you.
At this point, is there someone else that would like to share their memory of Hubie? If not, Frank Johnson? I knew the guitar was open for a reason.
Better get up here where you can hear me. Yeah. I would have volunteered the guitar on the song volunteer. I probably would have missed all the chords. I had the great pleasure when I was a teenager playing music with Graham. And well, we called him Graham then, and we also called him Uncle H. John Duffy was the one that dubbed him as Uncle H for Hubie. But we had a little band called the Piedmont Valley Boys, and we played WDON, WDON in Wheaton, Maryland. Every Saturday we did a little 15-minute bit. And then we got together with Curly Smith for a while. We played probably for a couple of months or so with him. WGAY, that was back when it was still a regular radio station. It wasn't become the good music station that it turned into later. And Don Owens and some of those people were on WGAY. And we were very fortunate in the 50s to cut our eye teeth with people like Don Owens around, and the bluegrass music was just starting to come into play. Of course, I went to high school with Duffy. He took me under his wing and taught me a few things. And he really enjoyed life, and we had a good time. We really did. And he used to love to play with old Hubie. He was a heck of a good banjo player. He really was. He could actually, and he could play guitar as well. He used to fascinate me with this reverse G run, you know, coming down like the Bill Monroe used on the Mule Skinner Blues. He had a way of putting a little bit of syncopation in that when he came down that thing. I scratched my head and I tried to figure it out for years and years and years, and I still can't do it. But I played with him at the time. I played bass, and John Kelly played the guitar at the time. John Kelly was from Laurel, Maryland. You saw his picture in a couple of shots here of the radio where they were standing in front of the microphone at WDON. John Kelly was the guy who was on the right-hand side of the picture, my left, playing the guitar. And we had a fellow named Mike Kearney, who was a fiddle player in Wheaton, Maryland. We had a really tight, really nice group, and we had a lot of fun. And we used to go down to the Warrington, to the National Music Contest all the time at the Horse Show grounds. That's where I learned to play the bass. Jack Stone taught me how to put the double slap on the bass. You go boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, and all that kind of good stuff. I always enjoyed watching Hubie because at the time he smoked, and he would get this deadpan look on his face, and he'd have a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and his fingers would be going like wildfire on the guitar, on the banjo, just playing the dickens out of the banjo. But he'd get an ash about 1.5 inches long with a cigarette. You try to do that. It was really fantastic. But Chris asked me to do something. I was thinking what I might be able to do. It's a little melancholy, but I was thinking of going home. And if any of you guys want to sing along, feel free. All of the friends that I loved yesterday gone home, gone home. The songbird that sings in the dell seemed to sing, gone home, gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home. Life is so lonely since they've gone. The old weeping willow that stands by the door sadly sighs, gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home, gone home. They've joined the heavenly fold. They're walking the streets of pure gold. They left one by one as their work here was done. Gone home, gone home, gone home. Go shoot Hubie.
Is there anybody else? Well, we all know Hubie loved his stories. We all know Hubie loved his music. In fact, Frank was telling my brother and I last night about how they lost touch for several years. It turns out they were eating at the same restaurant. They probably saw each other, ships passing in the night. So let's go and tell some stories. Let's go and play some music. Let's go and have some fun. Chris and Hubie, I would like to invite everybody back into their house for just that, stories and fun. There are maps on the outside if you need directions. So on behalf of everybody in the family, thank you very much for coming. Hubie, move this here.
That does conclude the service here at Fairfax Memorial Park. Again, on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. It's a testament to Hubie's life and all the lives that he's touched that all of you are here. I must say that he's even touched my life. I had the dubious pleasure of being able to sit down and meeting him and learning about this. It's actually the first time that in my career that I was actually able to sit down and meet somebody, another anthropologist, another person that been in the Pacific, similar time and places. It's been my pleasure to help the family, be with Chris the night that everything's happened. In fact, I'm not even an emotional one myself. But apps are in the back for anybody that would like to go continue the fellowship at the family home. Thank you.
Characters, and there'll be all kinds of Chinese. So I can read them all.
Thank you so much.
We went to a London
Playing nice.
Johnny?
Oh, that's good.